Hi everyone, and welcome to yet another Media Moogle review. I'm Ole Gamer Joe, and today we're taking a look at Arc of Alchemist for the PlayStation 4. This game was developed by Compile Heart and published by Idea Factory International. Compile Heart is a company with a lot of lineage. It dates back all the way to 2006 when their first release was on the PSP, and they've made a lot of games since, including Record of Agarest War, and the Hyperdimension Neptunia series has been a big part of what they've done, and a series that fans have enjoyed a lot. So the question becomes, how does this game stack up compared to some of their previous works? And well, the results are unfortunately a little bit mixed. You'll play as Quinn Bravesford in this game, who is the commander of a small soldier group that seems to be willing to go along with just about everything that she says and seem to have great trust and place great trust into her. Other characters in the game, such as Sharon, Sandra, and Mika, offer some decent dialogue and some relief from the serious tone of the story, but for the most part, Quinn is the star of the show, and she's the character that by far engaged me the most. So this desert world has gone to shambles, and really the goal of the game is to find this supposed great power that will restore humanity and restore the world to a better place. Because right now the deserts are in ruins, and everything is kind of chaotic, everyone's kind of depressed in this game, and it's just a miserable world. Arc of Alchemist is a game that throws a lot at you at the very early stages of it, and presents its tutorials in a not so interesting fashion, as in you are greeted with these boring screens that kind of just run through the commands of what you have to do in order to learn the next mechanic of the game. And it can honestly be a little overwhelming at first, but when you really break things down, there's not a whole lot to it, and most of the systems implemented are pretty simple and easy to understand. I just didn't like that they were thrown in your face so early on. Battles take place in real time, so when you walk up to an enemy, there's no battle screen or anything like that it switches to, and you can kind of just mash on the circle button over and over again through a lot of this journey, which is your main attack. It does decent enough damage, you get more and more powerful throughout the game, and I found that it actually was broken in a lot of ways, in that you could basically mash your way through a lot of these battles without needing to rely on too much strategy. You can bring 2 friends along with you into battle. There are actually a total of 7 characters, but the game only allows for you to bring 2, and the AI could best be described as okay at best. I found it helpful at least to have a character around that would create a healing bubble around the group so that I wouldn't get one-shotted by some of the game's tougher enemies, and I'd be able to kind of at least be able to implement a little bit of defensive strategy. You can lock onto enemies as well and fire off spells from a distance, so I didn't have to use it except for some of the tougher bosses in this game. There is some balancing issues as far as enemies you're going to run into. I found that at times I was just slaying and destroying everything without problems, but at other times an enemy would kill me out of nowhere. But like I said, there are at least some interesting shards to collect which create different spells for use, such as casting water or casting fire, and these spells can actually go on into the main game to solve different puzzles. Very light puzzle solving, such as creating blocks to climb up into higher areas. Nothing too taxing, but it is nice that they at least had the spells carry over outside of battle and have different uses for them. You'll have times where, for example, you'll have some sort of machine blocking your way with a wind current or something like that, and an ice spell, for example, will be your only way to get through and proceed to the next area. So light puzzle solving, nothing crazy, but a decent touch. But none of the combat really manages to feel great, and that's kind of thanks to a juddery frame rate, which is not completely stable all of the time, and a general sluggishness to the combat, which makes it really nothing special, but it's adequate at best. There is also a base construction element to this game, which I'm not normally a fan of, but actually it wasn't too bad. I enjoyed that you could actually boost your character's stats, you could watch the town grow, you could get new items into the shops. It's nothing that's overly complex, like that's usually what turns me off to these modes in games, but I enjoyed it enough. It's a good little distraction to have this home base where you spend lots of money from the loot that you've earned out and about, and can make this base grow, and can make your characters grow in return. But outside of that, the majority of your gameplay will take place running through the desert, mashing away at enemies, hitting the next checkpoint which will trigger the next cutscene, and continuing on through the game, pretty much the whole way like that. And as someone who doesn't mind a linear experience, I didn't really have a problem with that, but I could see people taking issue. Graphically, this is a game that looks more last gen than current gen, unfortunately. Character models aren't really detailed very well, the environments look okay, the enemy designs are a little bit uninspired, this isn't gonna win any awards in the graphical department, spells aren't really that interesting looking, the whole thing is kind of last gen, like I said. That's the best way I could summarize the graphics. They're fine, but I do think gamers might be expecting a little bit better for a game releasing in 2020. But one thing I have to tip my hat to Arc of Alchemist for is a beautiful, stunning soundtrack full of orchestrated pieces that are magnificent, breathtaking, and really well done and really fitting of the desert setting and the world that's put on display here. I think this is a fantastic and majestic set of compositions with soaring melodies that are full of hope and optimism. It's a welcome addition to any JRPG fan's audio library. So in the end, Arc of Alchemist is a game that has received a lot of criticism out there on the internet, but it's not nearly as terrible as it's been made out to be, but it's not as good as it should have been either. I think a really interesting world and story full of fun characters is kind of squandered on mediocre gameplay mechanics that with some more refinements could have helped Arc of Alchemist, a merely okay game, transform itself into a truly great one. For more on Arc of Alchemist and all of our other content, please head over to MediaMoogle.net, and if you like our video content, please do hit that subscribe button below. Thank you so much for watching.